Getting you ready for an Eastern Conference matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Boston Celtics just over 20 minutes from now, right here on NBA TV. This is a big one, especially for Toronto, who looks to avoid the play-in tournament and maintain their spot in the standings, currently slated as the 6th seed in the East. Let's get some thoughts from the head coach of the Toronto Raptors, Darko Rajakovic.
Curious to see, the Celtics team. You haven't played them with Jason Tatum, but I'm kind of curious to see what this team looks like, fully healthy, fully floated.
Not really. Not. I'm just joking. I'm definitely happy for Jason that he's back and playing and getting in a great rhythm now. Before the playoffs, team is playing outstanding on both ends of the floor, and as the season is progressing, Boston did a really good job, but they are a way different team now that at the start of the season. They really grew up a lot on both ends of the floor and created a lot of chemistry, and they're playing high-level basketball right now.
These sort of top-level teams, they often have multiple high-end elite wings, let's say. Are you kind of curious to see how Scotty and CMB match up against, two of the best wings in the game?
I mean, it's very easy when you look at this team of Boston and you think about Brown and Tatum, and it's very easy to overlook White, who is one of the best two-way players in the league. I have utmost respect for that guy and the way how he contributes, the way how he plays. Pritchard is playing unbelievable high-level basketball. They have hot shooters everywhere. It's impressive to see young guys and their development. So this team is just not two players. It's much more than that. But to answer your question, I'm excited to see how our whole team is gonna, go out there and compete, and how we're gonna match up with them, with their wings and their point guards, their fives.
I know that all of you understand the importance of games at this time of year, but how much weight does a matchup like today carry to maybe reassure you that you're where you want to be right now?
We just take one game at a time. Every game is the same value. There is no more important games and less important games. At this time, we're just trying to play our best basketball possible, and to see where we at. When you play against high-level teams like Boston, obviously you need all players to play their best basketball. And our message for our guys today is to go out there and to be the best best version of ourselves.
How much is that effort versus instinct, and what can you do to sort of combat that today?
Well, they have several players that are extremely good with offensive rebounding. Not just Keda and Garza. Their wings, they're really good crashing. Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, all of those guys coming off the bench, they do really good job of crashing on offensive end. So we gotta do a really good job boxing out, securing rebounds, and we gotta take care of the ball on the other side of the floor.
All right, you heard Coach talk about what a challenge the Boston Celtics present, a deep roster. It's beyond just Tatum and Brown. Katie is our resident Canadian in the group here. What is it going to take for Toronto to play their best basketball and get a big road win in a tough environment in Boston today?
Yeah, I have to shout out Darko's just unrelenting positivity, treating this game like any other game when we know that that's not necessarily the case for the team. But I'll go back to what I said earlier in terms of the bench depth, needing to go all the way down the roster, get a little bit of something out of every single player. Scotty Barnes obviously makes that possible. This year with Brandon Ingram coming onto the team, Scotty's really been freed up to just be this kind of defensive juggernaut, offensive facilitator. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's playing a lot more free. And I think it's really added to just the fluidity of the team and certainly their connectivity. I look at some of the stats that we've got here and just the points that they get off turnovers, their rebounding. These to me are what really stand out when the team is sort of humming, when everybody is operating as they should and they don't overthink things. Granted, that could be a big problem against a team like the Celtics.
Absolutely. Well, Scotty Barnes, as you mentioned, he's doing a little bit of everything this season, averaging over 18 points, 7.5 rebounds, nearly 6 assists per game, and 3 stocks per game. And having Brandon Ingram averaging over 21 points per game has taken some of that offensive load off his shoulders. Sean, who needs to really step up for Toronto today to make an impact and get a win in this tough environment in Boston?
Yeah, I think Darko named the guy that you always have to slow up quite a bit because even though I don't think he's underrated anymore, Derek White is the guy that just does everything for them. So we know Jaylen Brown's going to get his. We know Jason Tatum is starting to get his. You're going to have to slow up guys like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. If all 4 of those guys go off, you're in deep trouble. You're not going to be able to do anything, and they're most likely going to win the entire Eastern Conference. So if you could slow up Derek White, he's a plus 10.5 per 100 possessions net on-off numbers with over 2,200 minutes played. He plays every game. So does Peyton Pritchard. We're talking 80-plus in probably 3 straight years of games played that Peyton Pritchard has logged. So if you could slow up those 2 guys, Darko knows that then you'll then have a chance to get a W.
Well, we see Scotty Barnes right now getting some shots up, getting loose for this big matchup that's going to take place just over 15 minutes from now in Boston. It's definitely going to be a tough test for the Toronto Raptors, and we're talking about the importance of this game for them with just a handful of games remaining on the schedule, and Boston always a challenge. Katie, how do you expect this game, especially in the first quarter, first half, to play out? Because if Boston can get on a run, they're the type of team that doesn't always let go of that lead.
Yeah, and you can't really give the Celtics any daylight in that sense, right? They're not a team that is going to coast, into the third quarter after the half and give you a little bit of leeway to catch up. And Toronto just doesn't really have that kind of shooting power. So I think the Toronto has to come out really hot, like really swinging. It's what we said the Sixers should do last night. I don't know if they took our advice or not, but I think Toronto really has to treat this in much of the same way. And again, just like your starters are going to bring that, so does your bench. And I look at somebody like Jamal Shet, coming off the bench, leading that unit. He's great in terms of just being energetic, doing all the intangibles, diving for loose balls, jumping up for rebounds, regardless of like his stature. So that he to me kind of epitomizes exactly the energy that Toronto needs to bring.
Well, this first quarter is going to be important for them to set the tone and not let Boston get red hot. We've seen them do it so many times before, especially beyond the arc. We'll focus a little bit more on the Boston Celtics when we come back from this quick break and hear from the head coach of the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, get his thoughts on where the team is at and this matchup this afternoon against the Toronto Raptors. So don't go anywhere. Enjoy Easter Sunday with us on NBA TV. We'll be back. Welcome back to the association, and thanks for joining us on this Easter Sunday as we get you ready for an Eastern Conference matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Boston Celtics. Boston currently the 2 seed in the East, and they are feeling good about their chances entering the postseason with Jason Tatum back in the fold. Let's hear from head coach of the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, who sat down at the podium moments ago on this matchup with Toronto.
Happy Easter, Joe.
Happy Easter.
Does Nikola go today?
Yeah.
What's the last month been like for him? He was obviously in the process of integrating to the team, learning schemes and everything else. Obviously, it's a finger injury. He can probably get on the court a little bit and at least keep his conditioning up. Like, what has the process been like of him continuing to integrate and acclimate while he's been out?
It really hasn't changed. Obviously getting healthy was number one, keeping his conditioning number two, and then, he's been every film session, every walkthrough, practice, shoot around that we've had. So just, I think it's kind of maybe even slowed down for him, and I think seeing the game live from a different perspective, he's sitting right next to D-Mac and the staff and just kind of seeing the game from a different standpoint, hearing the communication and things. I think it just slowed down for him and, probably gave him even a better perspective. So it's good to go. I'm looking forward to having him back.
How close do you feel like he is to being up to speed on everything you guys need him to do?
I think he's there. I think, he's been around a long time. It's not that, complicated. I think a lot of it is more about just in-game communication on both ends of the floor. But, through the work with Emil and film sessions, and, he's been around a long time. He's a smart player. I think he's doing fine.
Sticking with Vooch, he and Jason never really got a chance to play together. Obviously, he got hurt in the Jason debut. What are you looking for most from them as a duo as, these last 5 games happen this week?
I haven't put any thought into, more of the, the lineups that are out there. The 5-man lineups. We need to make sure we execute both ends of the floor. I think the thing we're looking forward to is how our team's going to defend, when Vooch is out there. What coverage they're going to be in, what are the matchups. And then that'll kind of dictate what our reads need to be. Same thing defensively, so really just looking to continue to get better on both ends of the floor at our execution, our coverage recognition, and competing.
That was Coach Joe Mazzulla. The Boston Celtics getting healthy entering the postseason. Nikola Vucevic will be back in the lineup tonight, as you heard him just talk about that. And obviously, Jason Tatum has been back now for 13 games. The team is 11-2 since his return. Sean, Jason Tatum is playing incredible basketball. Jaylen Brown playing some of the best ball of his career. Are you surprised by the level at which Jason Tatum has been able to return, averaging over 21, nearly 10 rebounds and 5 assists since he came back?
No, surprise isn't the right word. I mean, I was confident that, if the Achilles would hold up and he would be able to just mentally be comfortable with, giving it the full go, then he would be fine. Averaging 26.5 over his last 4. He's been very, very good. We were waiting on that offensive explosion, and it's starting to come around now. Prior to the last 4 games, he had been shooting it pretty poor from the field, just getting his legs under him. And I think once that is fully underway, they're going to be very, very dangerous, and most likely are going to be the squad that comes out of the East. One of the things about Mazzulla is I think he probably gives us too much. He flat out just said, in my opinion, Vucevic doesn't play D. I'm worried about how we're going to look on defense if he's on the floor. That's what we need to figure out. So it's going to be like a chess match. That's what these last couple games are going to be. Vucevic, Tatum, just trying to figure out what lineups they can run out there and how they're going to go about their business, adding these guys this late in the season.
Sean, you speak coach language. You know how to translate the info they're given without saying it, and I read into that a little bit too. So we'll keep an eye on Nikola Vucevic, how he is on the floor, not just offensively, but maybe more importantly defensively. Katie, you heard Sean just say that these Boston Celtics maybe most likely the team that's going to come out of the East. How are you feeling about Boston as they're getting healthy, firing? They've got a lot of experience, and Jason Tatum starting to click, averaging nearly 27 points per game over his last 4 games out.
Well, first, I think every reporter in Boston media would disagree with Sean saying Mazzulla gives us too much. Maybe just then he slipped, but I think normally he keeps it pretty close to the chest. I think this is where I waffle a little bit, just because, again, like we've seen the consistency that a team like the Pistons is obviously playing with, and they cinched the 1 seed last night. I understand the depth and the experience and the championship caliber, obviously, of the Boston Celtics and why they seem like such a sure thing to come out of the East. So I don't quibble with that. I can absolutely see a path where that happens. I just think the path for them to get out of the East, depending on who they face, that's what could, kind of tangle them up. And Jason Tatum's obviously getting acclimated. That did happen quite quickly. I think probably that's where some of the shooting has fallen off. Also where Jaylen Brown has stepped in to take a bigger role with Tatum out. So there's still things that they haven't quite finessed, that they haven't quite figured out. I trust that they will, but I don't know that I'm willing to give it to them so easily that they're going to be, the sure thing to come out of the East.
Well, it's going to be interesting for sure. And Celtics fans are very excited that Jason Tatum, this man we see warming up right here, is back out there doing his thing. Nikola Vucevic returning to the lineup tonight. And the Celtics are looking to get all their pieces moving coherently together, cohesively, as we get ready for a deep postseason. All right, we're getting ready for this game.